that. Whew. Yo. Woo. I love that. Hey everyone, my name is Dan Shimolinski. People like to call me Shimmy, and you can too. I am a bassist, sound designer, and composer living in Los Angeles, and we are back in my studio checking out another incredible library for Soundpaint. This is MBase11. Now we have done quite a few kick drum libraries in Soundpaint so far, and I know what you're thinking. Do I need another one? Much like a painter and his palette, you want as many colors to choose from as possible. Sometimes certain colors are better for blending, sometimes certain colors are better for being a feature, and sometimes shades of certain colors just sit right in the painting exactly how you want it. So my answer to that question is yes, and I cannot wait to show you why. We're gonna take a look at all of the parts that you get in MBase11, and then we're gonna head over to the program section and see this stuff in action. So I have been messing around with this library for a couple days now, and I have some observations right up front. MBase11 is based off of the JoMoX MBase11, which is a completely analog bass drum generator that was released in like the mid 2010 range, I think. It was known for its simple on the surface design, but massive punch in any mix. But as always, this is no ordinary sample pack of the MBase11. This has been meticulously sampled through many different treatments. My general observation when comparing this to maybe some of the cinema stuff, Vermin Kick, other various drum machines in Soundpaint, the key takeaway for me is a more defined focus on the pitch of the kicks. You're gonna see various levels of grit, punch, sub action happening here in all of these treatments, but the common denominator throughout is a really beautifully defined pitch. Let me show you what I mean. There are 25 parts in MBase11, and I really need to just start referring to these as treatments, because though the source material is the same, the analog saturation is very different. I'm gonna go ahead and play this very first part for you that's just called MBase11. It's the most straightforward of the bunch. And I want you to really listen and try and track the pitch of these kicks. Try and track the motion of the actual note that's being played. It's pretty cool. So that's the master part. As we dive into the individual organized treatments, you're gonna hear that stuff stretched over octaves in different pitches, and you're really gonna be able to pick up how much of a melodic bass drum this library is. All right, so let's check out these individual treatments. We're gonna start with analog heat. And if you're not familiar with analog heat, it is an analog sound processor that can do some really incredible stuff. Whether you just want a little bit of analog warmth or you want straight up drive, this thing can do it all. And we have 9 analog heat treatments, 6 straight ahead and then 3 with compression. So I think the most useful thing for you, the viewer, would probably be to find a relatively common sound. I'll play a couple random notes from each part just so you can get the gist of what each one sounds like. And now that we're taking these individual samples and stretching them over octaves, you're gonna really hear the definition of that pitch that I was talking about. So here's one. Here's 2. very, very grisly sounding, maybe slightly more driven than 1. Let's check out 3. Woo. Very punchy, round, very, very subby, right to the point. Not a whole lot of dirt. Here's 4. So, kind of a mixed bag, a little bit of grit, a little bit of subbiness, more of a defined attack. Here's 5. So maybe shorter in length, a good mix of sizzle and warmth. Here's 6. Another mixed bag, but it's all good. And then some of the compression parts. Next one. And finally, number 3. Woo! So I hope you're noticing that these parts are highlighting different kinds of kicks, different kinds of falls, different kinds of aspects of the machine itself. I've talked to Trolls in depth about this a lot. When he's sampling machines, he likes to take specific assets and highlight them in various ways. Oh gosh, which totally brings me to something that I completely forgot to mention. There's velocity filtering on a lot of these sounds. Not all of them, but a really, really good portion. So in other words, when you hit the key harder, the filter should open up more. I know we've seen this in other drum libraries, but it's just one of those things that just makes me love Soundpaint deeply, that you just have that access to the filter cutoff itself through the force at which you play the note. It's very cool. And then we have 3 extra deep parts here, and I'll try to show off the velocity stuff if there is any, but these are very deep, very sub-focused. And 2. So definitely a little chirpier, a little more attack on the front of the note than in part 1. Let's see what 3 is like. Aw, that's just the perfect amount of sub, perfect amount of attack. Whew. And that pitch is strong, right? Like you can really, really hear it. It's really nice. A lot of the time with kick drums, that pitch just gets lost in the murkiness of the sea of low frequency information. It's really, really hard to have a sound that has that much sub information, that much pitch information, and a really solid clear attack. No brainer. Then we got 3 higher notes parts. This is super interesting to me, and I think validates what I've been saying about the pitch of this thing, because you can actually play some really pretty melodies on these parts. I made a program demonstrating this, which I will show you in a minute, but right now, let's just hear what these sound like. Still got the trail of the warp of the pitch at the end there, but that's really cool. yo, but like just a touch of release, maybe a little darker tone, and like a giant shimmer reverb, and you've got something pretty cool. You know me, I'm always trying to do stuff like this. It's the joy of Soundpaint for me, is just taking stuff as source material and doing something completely out of left field. Back to the demo, sorry, I got sidetracked. Here's some more higher notes for you. And the third part. There you go. My point is proven. This is a tonal kick drum library. It is, I'm telling you. And these last three are quite fun. I'm going to rifle through them pretty quick, but they're very, very done in depth. We've got 3 delay parts, magnetic delay to be specific. Oh, and that's got velocity information too. So cool. Such detail. Second part. I love it. Oh my gosh. And the third. Yeah, super awesome. These next couple parts are run through the famous Moog pedals that are just absolutely the beef. They're absolutely the sauce. It's just listen. Amazing. Here's the second one. Woo! I love that little bite. So that one's maybe a little less grisly than the first one. And here's the third. And then finally, these last 3 parts are both compressed and driven, so right in your face. Here's the second one. It's just nice and fluffy and round, but there's definitely a lot of definition across the frequency range. And the final part. Beautiful. So it doesn't quite have like the raw, visceral kind of super overdrive. Like everything is relatively within a clean profile, I would say. Various levels of grit, but you can always make out the attack. You can always make out a defined bass region and the pitch. Going back to my painter's palette analogy, this would definitely be something I would use if it was really, really important that my kicks match the key or the pitch of whatever production I was working on. But I didn't want to lose the attack and depth of a kick drum sound. And there's just such a wide variety of treatments here. It's really, really comprehensive and very cool. So then, let's pop over to the program section where there are quite a few, I believe 50? Let's start out with analog bassline, and you're gonna see ARPs on a lot of these because, again, pitch, you know? It's such a logical pairing for these kind of programs. So just some basic tone control stuff here, a little automation to one of the EQ bands and the master tone. But I mean, what a thick, juicy, this is so simple. It's such a simple program. It's one part gone through an EQ, analog distortion, and a compressor, and it just rips. This one's called Asymptomatic Rawness. Double layer part here. Let's listen to them individually. And then the other one. Nice. That's a really cool idea. You can take the extra deep to kind of isolate just that super low kind of stuff and have the pitched stuff be elsewhere. This one's called Creative Pattern. And the cool thing about this is there are no one-note stretches happening, no one-note sames on this part. So remembering that there are different sounds within different octaves, if I were to play that triad somewhere else, it's a completely different timbre. Very cool. Here's a little sound design fun for you. This is one of mine and it's called Deep Ocean Wreck. I grabbed 3 different sounds here from the extra deep parts. I left one on default just to kind of be the random part. Actually, both of them on default, and then I chose this third one as a one-note same, but going through a Bucket Brigade delay, scatter, shimmer reverb, I wanted it to sound like, you know those cameras that are investigating shipwrecks and then maybe like something bumps into something and it's just that bumps into something. Well, I bumped into something, but here you go. Yes, the good old-fashioned, very proper technique armbar. I don't know if you heard that little washing sound, that wash, 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 but that's actually coming from my EQ. I put an LFO on the mod wheel to make that kind of 4K region. It was just a high shelf, so it gives it that kind of, whoosh, whoosh, you know, rushing water sound is what I was going for. Here's one called Elastic Line. It does kind of lend itself to analog distortion, right? I don't know if that's just because the samples are so defined and clean, in and of themselves that, distortion really, really works, but it just knocks. It's the right thing. Here's a little bit of a cinematic context. This one's called Inside the Car. So you can really, really play with octaves to try and get different timbral shifts within your ARP. But yeah, that almost has like analog modular percussion vibes to it, right? Very much the same utility. And then we have a flurry of main parts, which are just simple treatments, a little bit of EQ, compression, filtering for all of the different types of parts that you get in Kick Bass 11. Super useful if you know generally what part you want to go with, but you just want to zhuzh it up a little bit in one click. Your main parts are the way to go. This one's called Massive. Very, very nice. So delay, of course, going to work with stuff like this. Anytime you have a kick or any kind of drum with any kind of high-end definition, delays are just a natural pairing. Get those little clicky sounds, wonderful. Let's get nastier. Let's check this one out. It's called Mutation. Awesome. So yeah, ARPs and gates can work really, really well together, especially if you have DAW sync going. Also notice this lovely touch, which is the velocity routed to the gain of the analog distortion. So don't forget that you can also have an automation controller assigned to velocity, not just MIDI CCs. Here's that one I was talking about earlier. It's called Play Me Pretty, and I chose two parts here from the higher notes category of Kick Bass 11, and I have the second one coming in on the mod wheel, along with, I believe, yes, some vibrato. So here we go. Pretty, right? Yeah, so, kick drums, right? Very natural. Then I did one called Slappy Arp, and I called it that because I assigned my mod wheel not only to the volume of a more percussive part, but I also assigned it to the cutoff of the filter, which has a very, very, very short decay and a relatively low sustain point. So the effect should be that when you raise the mod wheel, it becomes less slappy and more round and defined. So in the beginning, it was really, really subby and muffled down, and it became more defined as we brought that cutoff up. But I picked two parts that had particularly chirpy aspects to them already. And then I just accentuated it even more with this ADSR action here. Very, very fast decay to basically less than half the volume. I did a couple one-shot kind of treatments here that I just want to point out. Just, you know, very simple stuff, but a very simple, super fat kind of kick. Then one kind of in the mid-range. Here's a distorted one, emphasizing the fall, of course. Even more so if you raise up the mod wheel. And then one that focuses on the echo. Yeah, so don't forget, you know, we're getting into all these kind of arps and stuff. You can definitely do just like single shot, multiple layer treatments of these parts, and they stack really, really nicely. Here's a dope one called the Unappealing line. Very, very nice. I love seeing little things like this where you throw the compressor last, so maybe post-reverb, post-processing, post-delay, just taking that whole sound and just jamming it. Very cool, very fat. And finally, I will leave you with Unstable Pattern. It's true. It's unstoppable. Not because it can't be stopped, because I don't want to. It's awesome. This is such a neat little trick here to just boost up your resonance and have your cutoff kind of moving slowly as the sequence is running. Very true to modular sequencer kind of style lines like this, and just totally fits this library. So yeah. Kick Bass 11. I think I've tried to make it clear to show you what the character is and tell you kind of where I think it fits in the lineup of all of your kick drum offerings in Soundpaint. I think you could hear this type of kick on multiple genres of music, definitely for scoring, definitely for electro stuff. And the value of having a clear, defined tonality while maintaining the depth and the attack of your kick, priceless. It's a really dope instrument, processed in a bunch of really dope ways. Definitely worth adding to your palette of sounds. Punch, pitch, and depth. Those are the three words I would choose to describe it. I don't know who chooses the words that go on the thumbnails, but those are the three I would choose. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for tuning in, as always, and we'll see you next time. This is Shimmy, signing out. Take care.